I want you to just imagine a moment of pure, highly relatable, incredibly specific frustration.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Right. So put yourself in this scenario for a second. You are standing in a room. You have this, incredibly expensive, sleek piece of modern technology in your hand.
Your brand new mobile phone.
Exactly, your brand new phone. And it is dying. The battery indicator is flashing red. It's on like 1%.
The absolute worst feeling, panic sets in.
Utter panic. But
Yeah.
then you find a wall outlet, which is a massive relief, and you even have your charger on you.
The stroke of luck.
Yeah, so you plug it in, but immediately you realize there is absolutely nowhere to put the device.
Right. No shelf.
No shelf, there's no table nearby, there's not even a convenient little lip on the wall or anything.
Just a flat vertical drop to a hard, unforgiving floor.
Exactly. And because the charging cable is, inevitably just a few inches too short to reach the ground safely without putting tension on the port.
You are suddenly trapped.
You are physically tethered to the wall. You're just standing there, literally holding this delicate piece of glass and metal in your hand.
Babysitting a power outlet.
Yes. Babysitting the outlet. Unable to move, unable to do anything else, just, waiting for the battery to tick up enough so you can get back to your life.
We have absolutely all been there. It is maddening.
It really is. Because it feels like a failure of the environment, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. It's a very modern type of paralysis,
Yeah.
You have this device designed to give you ultimate mobility, right?
Right.
But in order to keep it alive, it renders you completely immobile. It forces you to serve the device rather than the device serving you.
It is such a technological irony, and that precise feeling, that moment of physical and mental friction is really the launching pad for today's deep dive.
I'm excited for this one.
Me too. So we are looking at a source document today, and it's titled The Walking University, the Instant Phone Holder.docx.
Which is such a great title.
It is. Now, for you listening, this isn't a textbook. It's not some peer-reviewed engineering journal or anything.
No, not at all.
It's a short, first-hand account of a very specific incident that happened in a remote field office. But we're going to unpack this micro case study because it illustrates so much about how human beings interact with technology.
And how we adapt to our environments, too.
Exactly. And the incredibly surprising ways we assign value to ideas.
Right, because on the surface, this is a story about a makeshift phone charger.
A very simple fix.
But if we dig into the mechanics of what actually happens in this account, it's this brilliant commentary on resourcefulness.
Totally.
It touches on the psychology of aesthetics in the workplace.
Yeah.
And what it truly means to, actually solve a problem.
Yeah, it challenges all our assumptions about where good ideas come from.
And who is actually qualified to implement them.
So, to understand the stakes of this tiny event, we really need to set the scene for you, the listener, because the environment is, it's essentially a main character in this story.
Oh, absolutely. The setting is everything here.
Right. So we are not in a sleek corporate office building. We are in a field office situated right in the middle of a rubber plantation.
Which is a crucial detail to internalize.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, a rubber plantation is rugged. It's an agricultural, highly industrial environment.
Like serious physical labor.
Exactly. We're talking about raw materials, heavy physical labor, sap, dirt, and just dealing with the elements all day.
It's not a sterile environment.
Not even close. The infrastructure in a place like that is built for strict utility. It's built for surviving the conditions, not for accommodating delicate consumer electronics.
Right. The buildings themselves are probably utilitarian.
Yeah. Cinder block, corrugated metal, exposed wiring. They're designed to process agricultural yield, not to coddle modern tech.
So it's dusty, it's busy, it's intensely practical. And into this intensely practical, rugged environment walks the chairman.
The big boss.
The big boss. The text notes that the chairman is there for a routine field inspection. He's the ultimate VIP of the organization.
And he is carrying an expensive mobile phone.
A very expensive phone that is, of course, on the verge of dying.
Of course it is.
He needs to charge it before he heads out into the plantation for his inspection. So he finds a charging point on a wall, but as we described earlier, there is no shelf.
Nothing.
There is no holder. There is nowhere safe to put it.
So the most important person in the hierarchy of this entire organization is suddenly reduced to standing awkwardly against a wall.
It's such a funny image.
It really is. He's immobilized by a lack of basic infrastructure. He has no option but to hold the phone in his hand while it charges.
Yeah.
What we're seeing here is a perfect illustration of what we call a technology clash.
A technology clash. I like that phrase. But how does that differ from just, I don't know, a poorly designed room?
Well, a poorly designed room is just a failure of basic ergonomics,
Hmm.
like a chair that hurts your back.
Right.
But a technology clash occurs when you introduce a tool from one specific era or one specific paradigm of work into an ecosystem that was built to support a completely different paradigm.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so this field office was constructed and organized around a legacy workflow.
Right. Whatever they were doing for decades before.
Exactly. And the chairman is walking in with a device that demands a totally different physical infrastructure.
Like shelves.
Shelves, safe resting places, clean surfaces, accessible power points at a certain height.
Yeah.
The environment simply hasn't evolved to meet the demands of the new technology.
It's kind of like buying a multi-million dollar, I don't know, a low clearance sports car
Ooh, good analogy.
and then bringing it to a rural farm and realizing you only have this rutted gravel dirt driveway to park it on.
Yes, exactly.
Like the asset is incredibly valuable, it's advanced, it's powerful, but the environment hasn't caught up to the asset.
If anything, the environment is actively hostile to it.
Right, it's going to ruin the undercarriage of that sports car.
That's a really solid way to visualize it. The sports car is useless on the dirt road, just as the chairman's expensive mobile phone becomes a massive liability the moment the battery drops.
And think about the physical awkwardness of this situation from, like, a hierarchical perspective.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You have the chairman, a high-level executive whose time is incredibly valuable, right? His job is to move, to observe, to inspect, to lead.
And he is physically tethered to a switchboard.
Yeah. Wasting expensive executive time, essentially functioning as a human phone stand.
He is literally demoted by the room.
Demoted by the room, that is perfectly put.
The room dictates his posture and his productivity. It really forces you, the listener, to think about times in your own life where you've brought a new tool.
Oh, I've definitely done this.
Right? Maybe a new piece of software, a new productivity system, or even a physical tool into an old workflow and immediately hit that wall of incompatibility.
You always think the new tool will just magically solve all your problems and make you faster.
But then you realize the surrounding ecosystem just isn't ready for it.
But wait, this brings up a huge logistical question for me.
Okay, shoot.
You mentioned the environment was hostile to the phone, built for a legacy workflow, but a rubber plantation isn't the moon.
No, it's not.
They have electricity, they have a field office, they clearly have communication needs across this massive agricultural space.
Sure.
So how is it possible that this specific piece of infrastructure, like just a place to put a phone, was completely missing? How were they even operating before the chairman walked in?
Well, this is where the source document provides some really vital context regarding the status quo of this specific workplace.
Okay, what were they doing?
The narrator explains that mobile phones were rarely used there.
Really?
Yeah. The daily reality of the field office staff was entirely different from the chairman's reality. The staff primarily used walkie-talkies to communicate across the vast expanse of the rubber plantation.
Walkie-talkies. Okay, that completely shifts the physical requirements of the space.
Completely.
Walkie-talkies are totally a different beast than a smartphone.
Yeah.
They are ruggedized by default.
Oh, yeah, they're built like bricks.
Right. They have heavy-duty clips. You wear them on your belt or your vest. If you drop a walkie-talkie in the mud on a rubber plantation, you just pick it up, wipe it on your pants, and keep talking.
Yeah, exactly.
If you drop an expensive mobile phone, it shatters and you've lost, what, $1,000?
Or more, yeah.
So the walkie-talkie culture is perfectly adapted to the harsh environment.
Furthermore, the communication paradigm itself is totally different.
How so?
Well, walkie-talkies are immediate broadcast-style communication. They are push-to-talk. They're for operational logistics.
Like tractor is broken at Sector 4.
Exactly. Or rain is coming, cover the harvest. It's internal, localized, and action-oriented.
Very tactical.
Right. A mobile phone, on the other hand, represents a more personal, external, perhaps more strategic level of communication.
Yeah, you're not calling the tractor driver on a cell phone.
No, you're not. The field workers didn't need mobile phones for their daily operational tasks, so the environment simply didn't cater to them. The architecture of the room reflected the tools of the workers.
But the text mentions a crucial exception here.
Yes, it does.
The narrator's father, who seems to be maybe a manager or a senior worker in this office, He did have a mobile phone,
He does.
and the text specifically notes that he had a tabletop charging point that he used for both his walkie-talkie and his personal phone.
Right.
So if the father had a perfectly good tabletop charger, why didn't the chairman just use that? Like, why did the chairman go to this specific awkward wall point that had no shelf?
That detail about the father's tabletop charger is actually essential because it highlights a concept we can call user-specific friction.
User-specific friction. Okay, break that down.
Well, the father had already encountered the problem of charging a fragile phone in a rugged environment, and he had solved it for himself.
Ah, for himself.
Yes, his existing system, that tabletop charger, worked perfectly for his specific routine. He had his designated spot, probably his designated time to charge, and it was seamlessly integrated into his day without disrupting his work.
So it was his personal, localized ecosystem. He had adapted his immediate, 3 square feet of desk space to handle the new technology.
Precisely. But the chairman is an interloper in this ecosystem.
Right.
He is a visiting VIP. He doesn't know the father's routine.
Yeah.
He might not have wanted to commandeer the father's desk, which, could be covered in paperwork or agricultural samples.
True. You don't just walk in and mess with someone's desk.
Exactly. Or
Weird.
perhaps the tabletop charger was currently in use. Or, and this is most likely, the chairman just saw the first available wall socket, plugged his charger in, and assumed there would be a basic level of accommodation.
He assumed a universality of design that simply didn't exist in that specific building.
Yes.
He assumed, I have a phone needs a plug, I see a plug, I will use it. Because in his normal corporate environment, every single plug probably has a table, a desk, or a ledge nearby.
Of course.
He didn't foresee the missing variable, which was the shelf.
And this exposes a really profound truth about organizational design, architecture, and problem solving.
Which is,
Problems often remain completely invisible until a new variable enters the ecosystem.
wow, yeah.
For years, maybe decades, that wall outlet was perfectly fine. It provided electricity to power tools, fans, or whatever else they needed.
Nobody needed a shelf there because nobody charged fragile devices there.
Exactly. The lack of a shelf wasn't a problem. It was just a neutral fact of the architecture.
Right.
It only became a problem the exact second a visiting VIP with a different device and a different set of needs entered the room.
That is a fascinating insight for anyone listening who works in, management, user experience, or design.
Absolutely.
The system you have built might look absolutely flawless to you because you are perfectly adapted to it. Your personal tabletop charger works for you.
Right.
But the moment a new user, a new client, or a new employee with a different perspective or a different tool enters that system,
They will instantly expose the blind spots you didn't even know you had.
the problem is literally invisible until the friction occurs.
It's the difference between a localized solution and a systemic solution.
Yeah.
The father had a localized solution that worked for one person.
Himself.
Yeah. The office as a whole lacked a systemic solution that worked for anyone who might walk through the door. And now, this invisible problem has suddenly manifested in a highly visible, highly disruptive way.
Because the chairman is stuck.
The chairman is stuck. The inspection is delayed. The friction in the room is palpable. You have an impatient executive literally tethered to a wall.
Which sets the stage for the immediate intervention.
Here we go.
The chairman is standing there looking uncomfortable, likely looking super annoyed, holding his phone like it's a fragile egg.
Yeah.
The narrator's father sees this predicament, he reads the room, and what happens next is basically the core of this whole document.
It is a rapid, spontaneous intervention that falls entirely outside the bounds of conventional corporate problem solving.
The father doesn't form a committee.
No.
He doesn't apologize to the chairman and say, "Sir, I am so sorry. I will have maintenance install a shelf by next Tuesday."
That would take way too long.
Right. He instantly assesses the situation, looks around his immediate environment, and grabs an empty Cuticura powder plastic container.
Such a specific item.
It is. And for those who might not know, Cuticura powder, which is like a talcum powder often used for skin irritation, very common in hot, sweaty agricultural environments.
Makes sense they'd have it there.
Yeah, it usually comes in these relatively flat, oval-shaped plastic bottles. So he takes this empty piece of literal garbage, and within moments, he alters it.
He modifies it on the spot.
He presumably cuts the top off or modifies it quickly, and then he securely attaches it to the switchboard itself to hold the phone.
The physical mechanics of how he attaches it are where the genius really lies.
Because he doesn't use tape or anything?
No, he doesn't use glue. He doesn't use string.
He uses one of the existing panel screws on the switchboard.
Yes.
He backs out a screw that is already holding the faceplate of the switchboard on, slots the modified plastic container behind the screw head, tightens the screw back down, and boom.
It's so elegant.
He has created an instant hanging cradle for the phone right there on the wall.
If we slow down time here and dissect the cognitive steps of this instant solution, we can see it's a display of incredibly agile thinking.
Walk us through that.
Let's break down what the father's brain had to do in a matter of seconds. First, there is spatial awareness.
Okay.
He has to look at the geometry of the phone, the geometry of the flat wall, and the geometry of the switchboard, and calculate how to marry them all together to create volume where none currently exists.
Wow. So he basically has to hallucinate the invisible shelf that needs to exist and then figure out how to physically manifest it immediately.
Exactly. Second, and I think this is more importantly, he has to overcome a cognitive bias known as functional fixedness.
Functional fixedness. I feel like I've heard the term, but break that down for me in this specific context.
Sure, functional fixedness is a cognitive bias that limits a person to using an object only in the way it is traditionally used.
Oh.
It's the brain's way of saving energy. When you look at a hammer, your brain says, this is for driving nails. You don't naturally look at a hammer and think, this could be a paperweight or this could be a pendulum.
It's a shortcut.
Right. Most people, when they look at an empty plastic powder bottle, their brain immediately categorizes it as waste or empty container. They are functionally fixed on its original purpose.
So they just filter it out of their problem-solving toolkit entirely.
It's invisible to them as a tool.
The father, however, bypasses this cognitive bias instantly.
He does. He looks at that same object and strips away its past identity as a powder container.
He just sees raw material.
Yes, he sees a lightweight, structurally sound polymer housing. He assigns it a completely new potential identity as a mechanical cradle.
It's like, think of a chef in a busy kitchen who suddenly can't find their garlic press.
Oh, that's a good example.
A novice chef might freeze, look around for the specific tool,
Yeah.
maybe ask a sous chef where it is, just wasting time.
Sweating over a missing tool?
Right. But a master chef just grabs the back of a ladle or the flat side of a heavy cleaver and just crushes the garlic against a cutting board.
Exactly.
It's not the standard tool, but the chef understands the fundamental physics of what needs to happen, like force applied to surface area.
And bypasses the catalog of standard tools to just get it done.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. The father understands the fundamental physics of what needs to happen here. The phone needs a receptacle that can bear a few ounces of weight without falling.
He doesn't need a literal phone holder from a store.
No, he just needs a receptacle.
But, okay, let me push back on this a little bit.
All right, go for it.
I hear you on the spatial awareness and overcoming the functional fixedness. It's super clever. But let's look at the actual execution here.
Okay.
We are talking about a highly industrialized space, a rubber plantation field office. He is taking a piece of discarded plastic, modifying it, and then literally screwing it into a live electrical switchboard panel.
I see where you're going.
Right. Like, if I'm an OSHA inspector or a safety compliance officer, my first thought isn't, what a genius.
Your first thought is a find.
My first thought is, that is a massive fire hazard and a code violation. Isn't there a danger in celebrating completely unregulated DIY fixes, especially involving electricity?
That is a very valid point, and honestly, it's exactly the kind of pushback that separates theoretical innovation from practical reality.
Because safety rules exist for a reason.
They absolutely do. However, let's look at the material science of what he actually did in this specific instance. Kudikura powder bottles, and most talcum powder bottles of that type, are typically made of high-density polyethylene.
Or HDPE.
Right, HDPE or a similar plastic.
Okay, so it's plastic.
Right. Plastic is an excellent electrical insulator. It is non-conductive.
Okay.
If he had grabbed a metal tin, say an empty sardine can or an old metal tobacco tin, and screwed that into a live electrical panel, it would be a catastrophic hazard.
Because it would conduct the electricity.
Yes, the metal could easily bridge a connection and cause a short circuit or even electrocute someone. But by using a plastic bottle, he is using a material that is inherently safe to place near electrical wiring.
That makes a lot of sense.
In fact, switchboard faceplates themselves are often made of plastic or fiberglass for exactly this reason.
So the material choice was actually defensively sound, whether he consciously calculated the, dielectric properties of HDPE or just intuitively knew that plastic doesn't conduct electricity.
Exactly. And let's look at the mechanical choice, too.
Okay.
He didn't use tape, which would eventually dry out and peel off in a humid, dusty rubber plantation environment,
Yeah.
dropping the phone.
Tape is temporary.
And he didn't go get a drill to make new holes in the wall, which would take time, create dust near sensitive electronics, and permanently alter the building.
He utilized the existing architecture.
He saw the panel screw. He recognized that it was already a load-bearing anchor tapped securely into the wall or the housing. By using that existing screw, he ensured the cradle was structurally secure without adding any new variables to the environment.
So it's not just clever, it's mechanically sound, it's materially safe, and it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
It requires zero budget approval. There is no requisition form to fill out in triplicate. There is no supply chain delay waiting for a plastic shelf to ship from a warehouse.
It is immediate action, bridging the gap between a problem and a solution.
And the result of this intervention, the chairman simply places his phone inside this new modified Cuticura holder.
Problem solved.
He connects his charging cable, and he just leaves the hallway to go do his inspection. His hands are free, his time is reclaimed.
The physical and logistical problem is 100% resolved in under a minute.
The phone is safe, the executive is happy, the inspection can proceed. You would think at this moment the room would erupt in applause.
You would think so, right?
Yeah, you've just witnessed a masterfully quick piece of on-the-fly engineering, but this is where the source document pivots.
It takes a really interesting turn here.
It moves from a simple mechanical victory into a really complex exploration of human psychology and workplace sociology.
Because the reaction to this invention by the other people in the room is decidedly mixed.
Yeah, not everyone was thrilled.
This is where we encounter the deep-seated friction between the aesthetics of innovation and true utility.
Aesthetics versus utility.
Exactly. The physical problem is solved, but the social reaction introduces a whole new layer of complexity regarding how we evaluate the worth of an idea.
So according to the text, a few people, bystanders, presumably other staff members or middle managers in the office, initially dismissed the improvised holder.
They weren't impressed.
Not at all. They looked at it and deemed it below standard. Why? Simply because it was made from a discarded plastic container.
They saw the trash, not the triumph.
That's a great way to put it. But the chairman, the guy whose highly expensive device is currently sitting inside this piece of trash, saw it completely differently.
He was actually using it.
Right. He saw its true value. He appreciated that it was practical, functional, inexpensive, and immediate.
This divergence in reaction between the bystanders and the chairman is profoundly revealing.
How so?
It forces us to ask, how do we define a standard solution in a professional environment?
I have to throw this out to you, the listener. Why are we so deeply conditioned to think that a standard solution must be shiny?
That's a great question.
Why do we assume it must be store-bought, packaged in plastic blister wrap, and expensive? Why is our immediate knee-jerk reaction to look down on the discarded plastic bottle, even when it is performing the exact same function perfectly, safely, and at zero cost?
It really comes down to the psychology of innovation perception.
Okay, unpack that.
It's how heavily we weigh aesthetics and origin against actual utility. The bystanders in the office are judging the object based on two things. Its origin, meaning it literally came from the waste bin.
And it's aesthetics, meaning it doesn't look like a commercially produced, sleek tech accessory.
Right. It doesn't match the vibe of the expensive phone. It looks out of place.
Exactly. There is a perceived mismatch in status. You have a $1,000 piece of modern technology sitting in a piece of garbage.
The sociologist Thorstein Veblen actually talked about conspicuous consumption.
Oh, I know that term.
Which is the idea that we buy things to signal our status.
Right.
Well, in the modern workplace, this translates to our tools. The bystanders are projecting their own insecurities about professionalism onto the object.
Oh, that makes sense.
In their minds, a professional workplace should only utilize professional-looking tools.
They are worried about the optics.
Totally.
They are thinking, oh no, the chairman is going to think we run a shoddy, cheap operation because we are taping trash to the walls instead of requisitioning proper equipment.
They are terrified of looking unpolished.
They are trapped in a paradigm where form dictates value. But the chairman is operating on a completely different psychological wavelength.
He's not functioning as a design critic here.
Not
He is functioning as an executive whose primary metric is efficiency. He doesn't care about the origin of the plastic. He doesn't care that it lacks a designer logo or a sleek finish.
He is judging the cradle purely on its utility and its return on investment, its ROI.
And the ROI on this thing is undeniable.
The cost was literally $0.
Zero.
The wait time was a matter of seconds, and the problem resolution was complete.
From an executive standpoint, this is the ideal scenario. It required no additional hardware, no procurement process, no meetings.
God, no meetings. That alone makes it a win.
Exactly. It leveraged existing sunk costs, the discarded bottle and the pre-existing screw, to generate immediate value. The chairman is liberated. He can go do his job.
To him, the aesthetic mismatch is entirely irrelevant compared to the functional victory.
It really challenges you to think about your own biases.
Yeah, listeners, think about your own workplace, your own home, your own daily routines. Have you ever rejected a perfectly good functional solution just because it didn't look professional enough?
I know I have.
Right. Have you ever spent $50 on a sleek, branded desk organizer when an old shoebox or a few glass jars would have literally done the exact same job just because you were worried about what your coworkers would think if they saw a shoebox on your desk?
We all do it to some extent.
We really do.
We conflate cost with quality, and we conflate aesthetics with effectiveness. We are heavily marketed to, constantly told that every problem requires a specialized, newly manufactured product to solve it.
We have completely internalized the idea that if a solution isn't purchased, it isn't legitimate.
But this incident strips all of that away.
It really does. It separates aesthetic snobbery from true functional value. The bystanders represent the rigid, aesthetic-driven mindset that paralyzes so many organizations.
We can't do that. It's not standard procedure. It doesn't look right.
Yeah. And the father represents the agile, utility-driven mindset. It works. It's safe. Let's use it.
And the chairman, crucially, has the wisdom to recognize and validate that utility-driven mindset rather than punishing it for not being pretty.
And that validation from the chairman is what transforms this brief, spontaneous moment into a lasting legacy within that office.
It elevates the father's action from a quirky, improvised fix into a core philosophy of the organization.
Which brings us to the culmination of the source text and the overarching principles the author draws from this single event.
Yes, the author pulls back and looks at the macro meaning of this micro event.
The incident proved, unequivocally, that effective solutions are not always sophisticated.
And they are certainly not always expensive.
No. The text explicitly states that the best ideas come from 3 distinct steps.
Let's break down those 3 pillars of innovation,
Okay, what are they?
because they form a very powerful, repeatable framework that applies far beyond a rubber plantation. Pillar 1, observation of the real problem.
Observation.
As we discussed earlier, the lack of a shelf wasn't perceived as a problem until the chairman arrived. True innovation requires the ability to see friction where others just see the status quo.
So the father observed the physical discomfort and inefficiency of the chairman.
Right. He didn't just see a man standing by a wall. He saw a workflow bottleneck.
He saw a failure of the environment.
Yes.
And then pillar 2, understanding the user's immediate need. The father understood that the chairman didn't need a comprehensive overhaul of the office's electrical infrastructure.
No, he didn't.
He didn't need a beautifully carved wooden shelf that would take a carpenter 3 days to build.
Exactly. The user's need was hyper-specific, localized, and highly time-sensitive.
Like, I need a safe place for this fragile object for the next 45 minutes so I can go do my job.
Understanding the constraints of the need is vital. It dictates the scope of the solution. Over-engineering a solution when a simple one will do is just another form of inefficiency.
So true. And that leads directly to pillar 3, creative resource allocation.
Which is my favorite part.
Mine too. Once you know the problem and the immediate need, you look at what is instantly available.
You bypass the supply chain entirely.
You look at the empty bottle and the panel screw. You connect the dots. Observation, empathy for the user's immediate constraint, and immediate creative execution.
And because the father executed this perfectly, he left a profound and lasting impression on the chairman.
But the text reveals an even more beautiful detail about the aftermath.
It does.
It says the father was called Sammy by the workers and sometimes even by the management team. The author specifically notes that this was a term used out of honor.
That gave me pause when I read it.
Me too, Sammy. It's an honorific. It signifies deep respect, It's not a corporate title like, Vice President of Operations or Senior Field Engineer.
Oh,
It is an organic grassroots title bestowed upon him by his peers, the people he works with every day, and importantly, acknowledged by his superiors.
it completely transcends the formal organizational chart.
Yeah.
When a community, in this case, the workers on the rubber plantation and the office staff, bestows an honorific like that, they are recognizing a specific type of wisdom.
They're recognizing competence.
Competence, resourcefulness, and the rare ability to navigate complex situations with simple, elegant solutions.
He became a localized figure of reverence because he proved that you don't need a fancy degree or a massive budget to be profoundly useful.
Which brings us to the very title of the document itself, the Walking University.
This concept is so evocative. I love this phrasing. What does the walking university mean to you in the context of this story and organizational behavior?
To me, the Walking University represents a fundamental shift in how we perceive knowledge and where we believe expertise resides.
How so?
Traditionally, we think of a university as a static place.
Right. A building.
A building made of stone and ivy, filled with textbooks, theoretical models, and academics. We assume that innovation flows downward from these elite institutions,
Or from the C-suite in a corporation.
down into the real world for the workers to implement.
The ivory tower model. The experts think of the theory, management drafts the policy, and the workers just follow the instructions.
Exactly. But the concept of the Walking University flips that top-down model entirely on its head.
It's the opposite.
It suggests that profound, teachable moments of absolute genius are constantly occurring out in the field, embodied in everyday workers.
The university isn't a building.
No, it's the collective experiential wisdom of people like the father who have spent years interacting with the physical world, observing friction, and solving immediate, tangible problems.
It's knowledge that is mobile. It walks around the rubber plantation. It adapts to the rain, the dirt, the changing conditions.
Yes.
It's not theoretical knowledge, it's applied wisdom. The father didn't write a thesis on polymer repurposing in high-friction environments.
You just cut up a powder bottle and fix the problem.
Right. But the lesson in that action is absolutely worthy of a university lecture.
It is the difference between knowing about something and knowing how to do something.
Yeah.
The Walking University acknowledges that the truest form of innovation is often grassroots. It comes from the bottom up.
It comes from the people who are closest to the friction, closest to the dirt, closest to the actual work.
They're the ones who truly understand the immediate needs and the available resources. You see parallels to this in things like the Toyota production system, right?
Oh, like Kaizen.
Exactly. The concept of Kaizen, where continuous improvement is driven by the assembly line workers, not just the engineers sitting in an office.
And if an organization like this management team that also started calling him Sammy has the humility to recognize and honor that grassroots wisdom, it becomes incredibly resilient.
They stop waiting for a corporate memo to tell them how to fix a problem, and they start looking at their own people.
Their own walking universities for the answers.
It's incredibly empowering.
It really is. It takes this one tiny act, transforming a piece of literal garbage, and turns it into a lasting symbol of workplace ingenuity.
It is a vital reminder that the capacity for brilliant problem solving is universally distributed, even if the formal resources and fancy titles are not.
Okay, well, we have covered a lot of ground today.
We really have.
Let's do a quick recap of this journey we've been on.
Sounds good.
We started with a highly relatable moment of friction. A frustrated executive, immobilized by a dying phone on a rugged rubber plantation.
We looked at how the environment, built for walkie-talkies and legacy workflows, clashed with modern technology.
Right, creating an invisible problem that only surfaced when a new user arrived with a different set of needs.
We then dissected the spontaneous intervention, breaking down the spatial awareness and the overcoming of functional fixedness.
Required to transform an empty plastic powder bottle into a perfectly functional, instantly deployed, and materially safe mechanical cradle.
And we had that crucial discussion about the tension between the bystanders who judged the solution as below standard,
Based purely on aesthetics, optical anxiety, and its origins in the trash.
versus the chairman who correctly evaluated it based on its flawless utility and infinite return on investment.
Finally, we explored the lasting impact of this event, distilling the 3 pillars of innovation.
Observation, user need, and creative resourcing.
And celebrating the concept of the walking university, where profound wisdom is recognized in the hands of everyday workers, leading to the honorific of Sammy.
It is an incredible micro case study.
It really is. Thank you for walking through that with me. I hope it has challenged the way you, the listener, think about problem solving, aesthetics, and standard procedures in your own life.
Actually, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Oh, please do.
Building on what we've discussed, but looking at a slightly different paradigm. We've seen how physical resourcefulness, cutting a plastic bottle, can bypass rigid environmental limitations.
Right.
But it makes you wonder about the digital environments we build today. Think about modern software, lockdown corporate IT ecosystems, and rigid digital workflows.
Oh, wow.
If rigid software is the modern equivalent of a wall with no shelf, um, have we engineered a world where digital Sammys are literally blocked from improvising?
That's a great point.
By locking down every permission and standardizing every digital tool, are we coding the walking university out of existence?
That is a fascinating and honestly somewhat terrifying question to carry with
It
you.
really makes you think.
Are our attempts to make everything perfectly standard actually destroying our ability to improvise?
Exactly.
Look around your own workspace today, both physical and digital, with fresh eyes. Maybe the solution to your biggest bottleneck is already sitting right there, waiting for you to see past its original purpose.
Couldn't have said it better.
Until next time, keep diving deep.